Hey, it's Joshua Vergara from Android Authority. What's going on, everybody? And today, in this edition of Versus, we're taking a look at what are probably two of the most sought-after devices in the market today. Yes, we're talking about the HTC One versus the Sony Xperia Z. We'll start with the Sony Xperia Z. It did bring back that rectangular, angular corner look that we don't see much of these days, and the black slate look is really nice. The button layout halfway down the right side makes handling easier, so it does deserve that credit. The HTC One, on the other hand, might be a 4.7-inch device, but it is just about as big as the Xperia Z all around. However, with an aluminum casing, it also has a really nice feel, and it is actually thinner. The thinness and the rounded back thus help with the handling in their own way, making reaching the top power button and the volume rockers still pretty easy. Either choice leads to a great looking phone, and with decent enough handling either way, we have a tie here. I've said before that instead of 5-inch screens, we should be seeing 4.7-inch 1080p displays. Right when I get used to 5-inch devices, the HTC One then comes around to fulfill my wish, and it does a great job. It definitely has better viewing angles than the Xperia Z's 5-inch Performer and is even sharper with 469 ppi over the Z's 441. Yes, the Xperia Z is still a great 5-inch screen, but when you compare its viewing angles to better ones out there, like the HTC One, you kind of wish that the Xperia Z was capable of that too. The Sony Xperia Z has the capable 1.5 GHz Snapdragon S4 Pro processor that has powered some of the best phones on the market, but it is getting on a bit. Enter the 1.7 GHz powerhouse of the Snapdragon 600 found in the HTC One, which is going to be the next evolution. Scores don't lie either. The HTC One routinely scores above the Xperia Z, and thus it gets the point in this round. The Xperia Z is water resistant, which is a great feature to have even if it's not something you'd use all the time. But it also has a micro SD expansion slot that is useful for getting more memory out of the 16GB capacity. But here's where the Xperia Z kind of loses it. The speaker found in the corner is very tiny, tinny, and is a low performer. Enter boom sound. HTC's replacement for the 1/3 inch space saved by using a 4.7-inch screen on the One. They sound incredible and are leaps and bounds better than the one on the Xperia Z. The base model of the HTC One also comes in 32GB, but a 64GB edition is also available. So with some great specific advantages on either device, both get a point for their capabilities. The two batteries are basically the same here, with a 2330 mAh unit in the Xperia Z and a 2300 unit in the HTC One. With such close competitors, I personally found that the battery life was about the same with either device getting through a full days of work. And now the cameras. The Sony Xperia Z's Exmor RS optics have 13 megapixels at their disposal, and they do perform quite decently. A slightly darker tone is found on each picture, and the Superior Auto does a pretty good job of picking one of the many scene modes for just what you need in your shot. Now, you would think that the 4 megapixel count on the HTC One would put it at a loss, but we're talking about ultra pixels here that are supposed to go above and beyond for your pictures. And to be honest, they actually do. Low light performance is the big development here, as the ultra pixels really do well to capture enough light for a decent photo. Unless you really want larger sized pictures, the HTC One pretty much has the same capabilities of the Xperia Z, along with HTC Zoe, which can put your pictures and videos into nice looking montages. So, its low light performance then puts it on top. Software is where things get interesting. The Sony Xperia Z does have the Xperia UI that puts together ice cream sandwich elements with Jelly Bean features like Google Now, and the Sony editions like Small Apps and the Walkman Player. It's a nice melting pot of design elements and functionality that works quite well. HTC Sense is obviously what you get on the One, so everything has that spaced out look. But it's been given a new coat of polish, so it's easier on the eyes. The biggest improvement here, aside from font and general design, is Blink Feed. It's a flipboard-esque interface found on the very left of the home screens and gives you access to social networks and news outlets in an attractive way. I personally really like it. With a slightly fresher take on Android rather than just a rehashing melting pot, the HTC One gets the software point. And finally, we have the price. When on contract, both of these devices should come in at around the same price for a 2-year contract. But the HTC One can come in at around $549 unlocked, which is cheaper than the usually over $700 price unlocked of the Sony Xperia Z. And so, there you have it. I did give the HTC One a couple more points in this versus, so it does walk away with the win here. But the best way to take a look at these two devices are they are great examples of their respective screen size categories. The HTC One just might be the best 4.7-inch screen device out there, while the Xperia Z is still a great example of how much fun you can have on a 5-inch screen. Really though, once you figure out what you really need from both of these devices, you really should be the winner of this versus because you'll walk away with a phone in which you'll have a lot of fun. We have great content going up all the time on the Android Authority YouTube channel, so don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. And then once you're done with all that, head over to androidauthority.com because we are your source for all things Android.